Welcome and good afternoon to our Fall 2025 Early Career Seminar hosted by the American Geophysical Union Biogeosciences Section Early Career Committee. This seminar series is designed to highlight the incredible work of emerging scientists, provide a platform for knowledge exchange, and foster connections across our community. We're thrilled to have you join us today as we continue to celebrate early career voices shaping the future of biogeosciences. For today's seminar, each speaker will give their presentation, and then afterwards, we'll have 5 minutes for questions. And then at the end of the seminar, we will open the floor for questions for all three presenters. First, we're going to start off with Dr. Jian Wang, a postdoctoral researcher at the University of Indiana Bloomington. Jian's work explores the climate mitigation potential of no-till farming beyond its effect on soil carbon storage. By examining how crop residue left on the soil surface increases albedo, her work uncovers a powerful yet under-recognized climate benefit of conservation agriculture. Drawing on county-level tillage records, satellite observations, and conservation data from across the U.S.'s Corn Belt, she estimates that no-till could offset up to 24 teragrams of CO2 annually. Her findings highlight the promise of no-till practices not only for soil health, but for large-scale climate mitigation. So please join me in welcoming Jian Wang.
Thank you for the introduction, and also thank you for the opportunity to present my work. So today I'm just going to talk about something about no-till as introduced. So you guys see the pictures that in this page. One field has pretty dark soil, which is we call it conventional tillage. So they remove all the residues and actually put the soil up from the bottom. Then another side of the soil, you see they have all the soybean residues on top of that. You pretty see the significant like the reflectivity between the both. So this research is actually trying to quantify the reflectance difference between those kind of two kind of fields across the Midwest. So the big picture will be we are thinking about the nature-based climate solutions, which have three different ways. One is increase vegetation CO2 sequestration or reducing emissions of the greenhouse gas emissions. The third one is actually we're talking about the increase of the brightness, or we call it albedo of the land surfaces. So in this case, you generally like increase more radiation back to the space. So will be less going to the Earth system, which is kind of reducing the radiation. This kind of pathway, I think is less studied. Also, there's some studies about reforestation, maybe because the forests usually have lower albedo, kind of warming the Earth system. But then there's a rarely studied in the agriculture systems. So this is the first kind of study quantify that. Sorry. So I'm just introduced several land covers of albedo values. So generally, this is also another picture I took it before. The tiered, which is really black soil, this one has more soil organic carbon, and you see their soil is more dark. So the soil reflectivity or albedo are small. And then when you compare to another one, actually is the corn residue, they are much brighter compared to the soybean residue. So they actually have a little bit higher albedo. But another reference you could thinking about the snow, everybody probably see the snow, they're pretty bright white, so their reflectivity is high. So this is generally kind of you understand about albedo values across the different land covers. So for this study, we have three categories about no tillage. Sometimes you study about different fields, they have a different definition. But for here, we will I described the no tillage and conventional tillage. So everything between them, we call it conservation tillage. I was emphasize this because if you go to some other fields, they might quantify no-till as conservation tillage too. But here we put everything between as conservation tillage. So the usually that like something showing this picture, they do some tillage, but they are not doing like totally totally conventional tillage. So the objective of this study is trying to quantify the change of albedo, generally due to the no-till or conventional tillage. And then we furtherly kind of translate the albedo change to CO2 equivalent. Generally speaking, is you want to compare to the other solutions based if they actually work comparable to the others or not. And then we actually explore some drivers about albedo change, and eventually we provide kind of opportunity maps to help agriculture management specific for no-till to achieve the maximum climate benefits. So the data we use is Landsat 8 estimated albedo. So we're using just the reflectance data from Landsat 8, and then using some models to estimate albedo. And then we have really intensive ground survey data from Indiana. So it was really lucky to have that. So we have a kind of base fields based reference of data of what is really going on for the fields. And then we furtherly scale up the Indiana to the Midwest, which including like 10 states about the no tillage, but they only have percentage of no tillage in each county. So which is using that data for the state level across the Midwest. So here is the first figure showing the albedo change for the different conservation practices. We are specifically focused on dominant season, which is the season that you don't grow any cash crops. So the growing season impact is not really too much into this study. This is a density plot for the albedo. The black one is conventional tillage, and the blue one is no-till. And then everything between kind of gray is conservation tillage. So you see really significant, the albedo density difference for the three different practices. So we furtherly do the similar stuff for the residue covers because they do have the residue covers data on the survey data. The patterns are pretty similar. So we're thinking the no-till change is due to the residue covers on the field level. But eventually we still want to do the data albedo, which is the difference between no-till and conventional tillage. So we just randomly sampled from those density plots from the conventional tillage and also no tillage. So they always doubled sampled and randomly sampled. So then we create this data albedo. I think it's around 0.13 just across the Indiana. Next one, we kind of explore the drivers about data albedo or albedo. So before this figure, we actually doing more multi-regression and thinking about all different kind of drivers like soil moisture, soil temperature, and VPT stuff like that. But unfortunately, the data was kind of a relative coarse compared to the ground survey data. So the most significant drivers we find is soil organic carbon. So so this figure, the y-axis is albedo. The first one is for no tillage. Second one is for conventional tillage. The last one is the difference between no-till and conventional. So soil, what x-axis is soil organic carbon. Generally speaking, is that if your soil have more soil organic carbon, your soil is getting darker, right? So that's making sense because if your soil is darker, your no tillage is going to the albedo is going to decrease. But then because you have residues on top of it, so their decreasing is not as aggressive as conventional tillage because conventional tillage just have the bare soil, right? So it's largely impacted by soil organic carbon. So when you calculate the difference, which is the dead albedo, is actually largely impact about the soil organic carbon. So this figure just showing if your fields with high soil organic carbon, we recommend doing no tillage because it's going to increase your albedo and the climate benefits we're talking about here. And this figure is about county level, so it's not about the Indiana field level anymore. So the y-axis is albedo, and x-axis is percentage of no-till for the each county across the Midwest 10 states. So the first figure is for no tillage. The second is for the conventional tillage. So what we did is we modeled the correlation between albedo percent and also percentage of no-till for each county. And then we can after we modeled this, we can hypothesize if the county has 0% of no-till and if the county has 100% of no-till, kind of have a hypothetic scenario. So you can also calculate albedo. So the different color indicate still the soil organic carbon content. So we still find the soil organic carbon is pretty large impact on the county level, even though we only have the no-till percentage data. So this is we did a similar thing for the conventional tillage. So we can also calculate another data albedo for the conventional tillage. So what we have is that generally data albedo we got around 0.5 across the Midwest if we calculate the no tillage, and then conventional tillage we got a little bit larger value. So eventually we're using 0.5. There's something related to the Indiana data is 0.3, but also the other researchers showing the 0.5 is more reasonable value. But we also have like an explanation why the conventional tillage has a larger value. If you want to know more, I can explain later. So we're trying to compare these values to the other conservation practices, right? So here just a really highly cited nature-based climate solution paper. They list the climate mitigation. So for the different agriculture and grassland practices, right? So we can just look at the cover crops, which is around 100. So the no tillage we calculate is around 24, which I mean, it's lower than the values, but they actually nobody really thinking about no-till. No-till can bring some climate benefits, but also no-till is much easier than the cover crops, right? Because you have to actually manipulate some plants in your lands, and you don't know what's going to impact your crop yield or something else. So this one is just much easier for the work. So eventually, we provide more like a maps. The first figure showing the realized benefits, which means we know across the Midwest, we already have a lot of no-till implemented. So we quantify those climate benefits. And then there's other leftover land that's still not doing no tillage. So we just trying to calculate how much remaining climate benefits for the no-till in the Midwest. So the final, just some summaries about this study. So the no-till management was offering probably around 24 teragrams CO2 per year across the Midwest. And then so the greatest mitigation potential will be in the low adoption and high soil organic carbon area. So albedo benefits are durable and complement the other nature-based climate solutions. So we also want to thank the data we got for the Indiana Transact data, because without that data, I think we have less confident about the values we provide for this potential the solution. Thank you so much. Yes, I think hopefully it's clear enough. Yeah, any questions?
And feel free to speak your questions out loud or add them into the chat.
Yes.
Hi, Sean. This is Russ in Tucson.
Hey, hi.
Hey, good to see you. Nice
Yes.
talk. Thank you.
Thank you.
It was just I missed how you actually calculated the albedo for the what kind of did you use satellite data for that or what for the
The albedo, I think there's a kind of more multi-living kind of a model. So you can use that, and then you use the Landsat different bands to calculate that. I think it's really traditional, highly cited paper, how you calculate the albedo using different bands from Landsat data.
okay.
If you're interested, I can send you that.
There was an albedo product derived from Landsat data.
No, I don't think they exist, if I'm not wrong. I think there's albedo product from Modis, but they don't have exist. I'm not sure. When I was doing this project, they're not exist for the front end set. now everything changed so fast.
Okay.
Yes.
And we have a question in the chat. Did you find any difference in no-till effect for the different crop types?
Oh, yes. For this study, we only focus on the soybean and corn fields. So when you also see the pictures that I show in for the soybean and corn, the maize residue, so the maize has a larger albedo difference compared to the soybean residues. So we do have I think it's a supplemental figure showing there are actually big difference there. Yeah.
Thank you. We're going to move on to our next speaker.
Thank you so much.
So next up, we have Swati Singh, a doctoral candidate at Auburn University. Swati specializes in forest disease detection and monitoring through advanced remote sensing technologies. Her research integrates UAV-based multispectral and LiDAR data with satellite imagery to develop field-validated methods for the early detection of diseases such as brown spot needle blight in loblolly pine forests. By applying machine learning and deep learning, Swati's work delivers scalable tools that enable forest managers to intervene quickly and effectively. Her contributions are essential for reducing economic losses, safeguarding ecosystem resilience, and protecting forests against mounting stressors from climate change. So please join me in welcoming Swati Singh.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity and my introduction. I'm a PhD candidate, and this work has been carried out under the supervision of Dr. Lana Narayan. And the title of my today's presentation is UAV-based multispectral LiDAR remote sensing for detecting and mapping brown spot needle blight disease in pine forest. Let's start with the introduction and first understand why this topic is important to study. Pine forest in the southeastern United States are facing a growing threat from a foliar disease known as brown spot needle blight. In the year 2022, this disease has been documented in 36 out of Alabama's 67 counties by Alabama Forest Commission. And the main cause is a fungal pathogen called as Lichenosticta aceticola, which infect the pine needles and weaken the tree over the time. Now let's see how BSNB symptoms actually appear in pine needles. In the early stage, the pine needles develop small yellow spots called chlorotic flecks. As the disease gets more severe with the time, these spots turn into brown resin-soaked lessons, causing the needle to drop prematurely. Here you can see the closure of infected trees with brown spots and some red colored bands. You might be thinking how a UAVs or drone system can detect brown spot needle blight symptoms at needle level. The answer is that drone captures a very high resolution spectral and structural data set, which makes it possible. In this study, we worked with two different UAV systems. First is DJI Mavic 3M, which has multispectral and RGB cameras. These cameras captures different bands like green, red, reddish, and near infrared, which are helpful for spectral analysis. Second one is Matrix 300 RDK, which is a LiDAR sensor, which captures 3D structural information of forest through generated point clouds. So here you can see both system that we used in our study. The overall objective of this study are first to compare how well we can detect brown spot needle blight using multispectral and LiDAR dataset and the combination of both as well. To do this, we used machine learning algorithms like artificial neural networks and support vector machine. And second, we wanted to compare how accurately we estimate the number of healthy and infected trees in the study area or at the plot level using multispectral derived point clouds and LiDAR derived point clouds with an individual tree detection approach. Our study area are located in Washington and Clement counties in Alabama. In this slide, you can see complete methodology flow chart for multispectral data analysis. We flew a UAV with multispectral and RGB camera that captures images in different bands. Then we processed these images using a method called structure from motion, which converts 2D data into 3D point clouds, which we used for individual tree detection. And further, we created an orthomosaic for the study area. Then we calculated the vegetation indices for the study area like NDVI and NDRE, which were used to mask the soil background from the study area as well. We performed this step only to focus on trees. Then we collected some ground truth data in the field, which we used to train two machine learning algorithms, ANN and SVM, to classify disease severity level at the plot level. And finally, we assessed the accuracy of these classification and created a disease distribution map showing where and how severe the disease was. Now let's look at the LiDAR workflow. We use the Matrix 300 RTK drone with a LiDAR sensor to collect detailed 3D information about the forest canopy at the plot level. This captures both RGB images and LiDAR point clouds. The point clouds were generated to remove noise and separate ground from non-ground points. From this data, we created a model such as a digital surface model, digital terrain model, and canopy height model. Finally, we combined this information with our field data and used machine learning models like ANN and SVM again to classify disease severity level and create a BSNB distributions map in the study area. Here we process the multispectral UAV images by first removing the background by using NDVI threshold of 0.25. On the right, you can see spectral profile for different BSNB severity level and grasses. These spectral signatures help us to understand how reflectance changes across the 4 multispectral bands, making it possible to distinguish between healthy early disease, moderate pine disease, and severe disease at the tree level. Here, the classification result is showing how well different data sets and machine learning models detected brown spot needle blight symptoms at the plot level. Using the multispectral data, support vector machine slightly outperformed artificial neural network with 92.11% accuracy. And for only LiDAR dataset, SVM again performed better at 92.21% accuracy. And when we combined both the data set, that is multispectral orthomosaic and LiDAR-derived CHM and orthomosaic, we can also see that SVM reached the highest accuracy of 93.82%. This shows the combining data set, that means spectral and structural properties are providing the best result with the SVM classification. Here you can see how we mapped brown spot needle blight severity across the plot area using our best performing classification model. In the map, you can see green areas that represent healthy trees, pink are representing early disease, orange are representing the moderate disease, and brown are representing the severe disease. This map help us to quickly analyze and see the spatial distribution of infection, which is useful for targeted management actions like planning about the treatment and monitoring disease spread over the time. This slide shows how well our system can detect individual trees infected with brown spot needle blight disease using 2 types of point clouds. One is derived from multispectral, which is from structure of motion, and second one is LiDAR generated point clouds. On the map here, each green dot represent an individual detected tree. The different color shows severity level. In total, we identified 453 trees with the most in the early and moderate stages. On the table, we can see both method worked well, but LiDAR point clouds had slightly better detection accuracy. It is found more true positive and had few false alarms. So overall, in short, LiDAR is a better for spotting infected trees precisely. For this study, we used drones with both multispectral and LiDAR sensor to detect and map brown spot needle blight symptoms in loblolly pine forest. And the key findings are that both sensor type performed very well in classifying disease severity level at the plot level. LiDAR system gave slightly better result in precision, recall, and detail than multispectral point clouds in terms of individual tree detection and plot level. And the overall combining the LiDAR's structural property with multispectral's spectral information improved the overall accuracy even further. So before I conclude, I would like to acknowledge the US Forest Service for funding this research, and also entire Forest Health Dynamic Lab for their support throughout the project. Thank you all for your time and attention. I would like to hear any questions or suggestion you may have.
So a question in the chat. Would you share a bit more information about your SVM model, such as the type of kernel?
So here we performed SVM and ANN in NV software, but we are working on more modification in Python right now.
Can I ask a question quickly?
Yeah.
How you actually deal with the shade in the under the trees I just curious about that.
So we had taken a data under the good light condition. We optimize the time, like where the shadow was less, sunshine was like pretty good. And we collected a data around 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. when sunlight was pretty good. So there was not much shadow.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Swati. And we're going to move on to our last speaker of the day. So I'd like to welcome Dr. Panchami Jaya, a doctoral fellow at Purdue University. Panchami's research focuses on the intricate connections between geochemistry, climate dynamics, and soil carbon in tropical forest ecosystems. Her work in the southern Western Ghats, a biodiversity hotspot critical for regional climate regulation, compares natural forests and teak plantations to reveal how species diversity shapes soil quality and carbon sequestration potential. Using 72 soil samples, climate records, and the forest DNDC model, she quantifies soil carbon stocks and fluxes, integrating gross primary productivity and ecosystem respiration for a holistic view of carbon cycling. Her research underscores how diverse forest ecosystems can contribute to sustainable development goals while informing conservation strategies and land management policies that enhance climate resilience. So please welcome Dr. Panchami Jaya.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ariel, for the nice introduction. I hope I'm audible to you guys. Yeah. Hi. Hi, everybody. I would like to begin sincerely thanking AGU Biogeoscience for giving me this opportunity to present my work here. And it's truly an honor to be part of this community and sharing work as an early research scholar. So, hi everybody. I'll just take you guys to the backdrop of my screen. This is a lush green southern Western Ghats. This is not only a breathtaking forest, but it's also a climate various. So before diving into the science, let me introduce myself. I'm Panchami Jaya. I'm doing my PhD at Kerala Forest Research Institute, India, and currently here in Purdue University as a visiting doctoral scholar. I'm sorry. Yeah. So been here 1 year at Purdue University. So I'm sharing today the work which I'm done in the Southern Western Ghats. So the story of mine started with a question like how the forest ecosystems are helping to mitigate the global climate change while withstanding the global warming. So this question we arisen and we done a lot of study and we put it into the 2 3 titles. Like one of the title is like this: how the soil carbon dynamics and climate change impact humid tropical forest and plantation of southern western ghats. It's a some insight from process based or simulation models. Yeah, so UN General Secretary latestly mentioned humanity is on a thin ice and that ice is melting really fast. So, our work is to address that urgency by exploring how natural forest and managed teak plantation in southern Western Ghats can become sustainable allies in this mitigating the climate change. As a question like natural forest lead or plantation help to close the carbon storage and all. So, India's goal of enhancing forest carbon sinks in 2030 is emphasized the urgent need for a sustainable forest management strategies. So, when come to southern Western Ghats, it's rich in biodiversity and carbon storage, potentially offer a unique opportunity to explore how the different forest system, natural wise manager can contribute to this goal. So, field study not only give a big picture about it, or it's not only give to answer a very big question: what happened when the climate scenarios to continue to change for a longer period. That's why we turned it into a model like forest dntc. This seek to bridge this ecosystem field data with dntc, and it aimed for optimizing the carbon storage and guiding for sustainable management practices. So, the study, heart of the study, the hypothesis which we settled, how the future climate scenario will affect the carbon reservoirs of managed forest systems and teak plantation, leading to soil degradation and converting them to carbon sources. So, what we evaluate the vertical distribution of carbon pools and to analysis how the geochemical interaction and thermal stability affecting the soil carbon pools and to predict climate impact on soil carbon reservoirs and the evaluation of it. By this, the research question is obviously how does climate change impact soil carbon storage in natural forest with teak plantation? So these are the work done or the sample which the laboratory analysis which we conducted. We collected soil collection by a stratified multi-stage random sampling method. We done the basic laboratory analysis and analysis the total organic carbon, metabolically active pool of carbon and stable organic carbon pool, and study the thermal stability of the soil organic carbon and organomineral interaction of this carbon, like how much carbon is losing in each mineral fractions. And we done the adsorption affinity, like how the soil organic carbon is attached to the soil minerals. And the last we done was we selected a model and we used it predicted like how climate changes are affecting the carbon and nitrogen biogeochemistry. And so these are the sampling points. Yeah, sorry. 1 second. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. So these are the sampling location. So in Kerala, in the region of the southern Western Ghats, basically it's divided into 32 agri-ecological unit. So based on the majority of the teak plantation site, we selected five geological strata or agroecological unit: northern central laterite, southern central foothill, southern high hills, Wayanad central plateau, and northern high hills. We used a stratified multi-stage random sampling where geological rock strata has been as a primary strata and agroecological unit as a substrata. you can see like how the sampling is spread across the southern Western Ghats region. We take the soil sample from natural forest and nearby teak plantation up to 1 meter depth. So going to the results, I'm not giving the all of the results, but just a representation of like which soils behave like very well and which soil have a high soil carbon sequestration. One was WCP, that was Wayanad Central Plateau. You can see in the graph. It's in the Wayanad Central Plateau. It's come here. And these are the physiochemical parameters of the WCP soil. Nitrogen and potassium, nitrogen and phosphorus having a medium low range in the both teak and forest soil, but potassium rate is very high in the teak plantation soil because the teak leaf having a very high potassium content, so the litter fall help to contribute this potassium content obviously, and the silica is very high in this WCP teak plantation soils. Beside that, available calcium was found to be highest in the surface soil of teak plantation, and most studies on soil carbon in forest focus on a depth 0 to 30 centimeter. This study revealed that this limited assessment underestimate the carbon storage potential of tropical forest. But you can see the how the soil organic carbon is changing by the layers wise. Yeah. So we calculated the active, slow, and passive soil carbon pools in both teak and forest system, and the correlation studies indicating that active pool and slow carbon pool have a very high good correlation, but the passive pool and active soil carbon pool don't having any significant correlation is happening here. So the total organic carbon is directly related to this active, slow, and passive carbon. There's a significant positive correlation is happening between active and slow carbon, but we can't see any recalcitrant passive pool in these things. This means that the input addition, tree harvest, rotation, duration, etc. will influence the active and slow pool, and passive pool remaining more or less undisturbed. And there's a small change in the active or slow pools will directly affect the total organic carbon pool than the passive pool. And we're talking about the soil carbon. We know that soil can hold carbon for a very less time, and it will subject to decomposition and all. So this is one another thing. Like if you're thinking about a storage of carbon in soil for a long time and maintaining the soil health, this is come phytolith. Phytolith is a silica structure that produces in the plant cell. After the decaying of plant, it come to the soil and since store carbon for 2000 years or more, have the ability to occlude the soil organic carbon and stay in the soil for a very long time. These are the phytolith structures. We are just isolated from the teak plantation and forest soil. Here, these are the different phytolith structure based on the phytolith taxonomy. Trapezium corniculate elongator with protuberance and cuneiform bulliform structure. And this is the PCA diagram which showing like what are the factors affecting the soil phytolith content. And this phytolith occluded carbon and total organic carbon ratio was lower in natural forest on all horizon than in plantation. Another thing was when go to the depth, the phyto TOC and TOC ratio was actually increasing, and this make that we can get a more stable source of soil organic carbon in forest. So this is the chemical composition of humic acid extracted from teak planted and forest soil of WCP. The carbon content show WCP forest, so greater carbon sequestration potential because of the higher total and phenolic acidity in WCP. It affects the nutrient availability and promote diverse microbial activity, and organic matter stability is also very high in this one. These are the representative FTR spectrum of WCP teak plantation and northern central laterite teak plantation. You can see there was an absorption in this 3000 bandwidth. This means that there was a carbon-carbon bond and aromatic structure in this portion, and it directly indicated the soil carbon stability in these soils. So the main absorption band above 3000 suggests that humic acid containing CCC bond or aromatic ring, which contribute to the stability and reactivity of humic acid, directly the soil carbon stability. These are the scanning electron microscope image of humic acid from WCP and NCL teak plantation. Similar pattern was observed in both plantations. Adsorption affinity study also give evidence that how critical the mineral organic interaction for enhancing the soil carbon storage. Teak plantation showing less compared to the natural forest, and anions and cations having a comparatively very effect on this dissolved organic carbon absorption. These are the thermal stability study. It's a 60 days incubation study, and basically we get a activation energy and Q10 value. Natural forests show a decreasing thermal stability. A higher PA value indicate a greater thermal stability. So you can see forest having a decreasing thermal stability because like it's easy to decompose. But in teak plantation, it is a moderate thermal stability. It's like more stable organic matter, but it's too sensitivity to temperature. Like when sensitivity changes, the decomposition rate having easily changed in the teak plantation site. So coming to the modeling, I told you like field data alone couldn't answer the bigger question: what happened as the climate continue to change? That's when we change it to a model. This model is kind of a crystal ball as help us to stimulate by giving future by calibrating it with data from natural forest and tea plantation. So modeling of a soil organic carbon involved in a four step. First we selected the data and we done the data preparation. I show the data which I collected from the field and we just give the data input into the DNTC model. And then we done the calibration and validation study and done the simulation and to predict the soil organic carbon changes. So the model which we selected was a DNTC model. It was a denitrification decomposition model. Forest DNTC is a generic forest biogeochemical model. So this involved in a two compartment. The first compartment climate, soil, vegetation, and human impact, and the second compartment is like how this climate, soil, vegetation, and human impact help to the denitrification, nitrification, and methanogenesis process. And the output was we can predict the gas fluxes and the emission of various gases and everything by using this model. So first we need the climate parameters, forest parameters, soil parameters, and management practices for to run this DNTC model. And next was the model calibration. We calibrate the model using North Central Laterite Ecological Unit, that was NCL, and we validated it's using the site which having higher carbon sequestration and carbon storage. This was Wayanad Central Plateau. We used success of calibration is based on RMC and model efficiency. RMC is 0 to 10, then it's good. Model efficiency greater than 0.5 is good. So I told you about the 5 parameters. So we used a Marcusum GCM software to get the data on the anticipated climate changes for the study area under RCP 2.6 and RCP 4.5 scenario from 2020 to 2050 was generated and used to run the DNTC. The field, the remaining parameters like vegetation and the soil parameters and the management practices are taken by the field itself. We done the model validation and efficiency, and the model efficiency was found to be high and the RMC value is also high. So it's a good fit between observed and simulator value. Going to the result section, RCP 2.6 scenario, the graph is generated in the RCP 2.6 scenario is can see the forest soil carbon is very high compared to the plantation, but the temperature, rainfall, and gross primary productivity, that's also varying in between the years. This is the RCP 4.0 scenario. Here you can see the gross primary productivity is high in forest than compared to plantation. This was some change in the RCP 2.6 scenario, but the soil carbon storage over time is not that much increasing in compared to the 2.6 scenario. RCP 2.6 scenario is actually less emission scenario, and RCP 4.5 scenario is actually is a moderately high, the current of thing which happening here now thing. So this is the greenhouse dynamics of WCP teak plantation and natural forest actually. And this is the correlation heat map of NEE. net ecosystem exchange for teak and forest plantation and how the environmental factors are affecting this net ecosystem exchange. You can see that this NAE is highly influenced by plant respiration, like for fluoride carbon dioxide, mineral soil carbon dioxide having a good effect, but dissolved soil organic carbon doesn't having a very good relationship between this net ecosystem exchange, which means carbon sequestrating in soil reduces carbon dioxide emissions. So coming to the definition part, the study compared the organic carbon turnover in teak plantation and forest system under climate scenario RCP 2.6 and 4.5. Both ecosystems showed an overall increase in soil carbon content over the simulated period with fluctuation observed in forest system. The research suggests that climate change could have a positive effect on soil carbon dynamics in this system by 2050, but the magnitude was more favorable in 4.5 than the 2.6. Forests exhibit higher carbon accumulation due to more complex root system, greater biodiversity, and all. As tree respiration also increases over time, some of the stored carbon is respired back into the atmosphere, indicating the possibility of soil becoming a source of carbon release into the atmosphere as like a positive feedback loop. Forests having higher and more stable GPP showed you in the figure, and plantation exhibiting a lower gross productivity. It's because plantation having a monoculture is not like a forest, it's well maintained and everything. And the reason maybe the RCP enhanced carbon storage because of the higher temperature and increased microbial activity and extreme rainfall pattern that promote growth root and organic matter accumulation. Actually, natural forests exhibit greater resilience and compensatory growth, leading to increased soil carbon through the long-term stability of this storage remain uncertain under ongoing climate change. So I greatly acknowledge the Kerala Forest Research Institute, Forest Research Institute, Dehradun, and Purdue University for the support and express my sincere thanks to Dr. S. Sandeep and Dr. Ichawa Roy for their expert guidance and mentorship throughout this research. Thank you, AGU Biogenesces, for this presentation opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you for that great presentation.
Thank you.
So we're going to open the floor to questions for all three of our presenters. So if you have a questions, please just indicate who you're asking so that they can answer.
I guess I have a question for all three of the speakers. I'm curious as to like what your next question would be to follow up on your research. If you could briefly kind of comment what your next thing would be.
I can go first. So actually, we actually exploring the so this is I'm talking about no tillage. We also exploring about the cover crops too. So also, I mean, the last speakers are talking about soil organic carbon stuff. We explore the cover crops impact soil organic carbon if that possible. Yeah.
That'd be very cool. Swati, do you have anything you'd want to ask?
So the future research in this project is to integrate satellite data like Sentinel-2 for a large study area to find out the binary classification, like the difference between healthy and infected trees in the Alabama state.
Antoni?
Yeah, yes, Ashley, I was very interested with Cyan tag because I'm currently working in Indiana soils now. So I'm just trying to explore these soil carbon reservoirs in the agriculture land here in Indiana and comparing it with the woodlands nearby and exploring more about the soil organic stuff in the Indiana soils. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And then Panchami, we have a question for you from the chat. I rarely hear anyone talk about the role of phytoliths in the terrestrial carbon cycle. Is there something that scientists at your institution is that something at your institution that scientists regularly research?
No, actually, because nobody is not into phytolith carbon thing, because it's kind of a like lot of questions are there for this phytolith thing. Usually the archaeological or the things usually because thing usually address this thing. But while I'm doing my research, I found on a paper about the phytolith in the soils, and I just sampled it and analysis it, and I get it the results. So I guess it's only a stepping stone. We need to be exploring more about the phytolith research. Lot of uncertainties are there in the phytolith research, but it's actually very good when it's thinking about the agriculture and stuff and everything. We still need to be do a lot of research about the phytolith carbon.
Thank you. And then would you please describe how you isolate the phytoliths in the lab?
We actually followed a procedures in the lab. We isolated the plant leaf phytolith and soil phytolith using an oven study that which we mentioned in a paper. So we just followed that study. It was like a lot of stuff, but it's actually it's a lot to explain because a lot of procedure. But we follow. I will just share the paper which I used for the phytolith isolation and extraction from the leaf and the soil. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Kate.
Well, if we don't have any more questions, I have a few announcements to put out. Jennifer Glass has left a message in the chat advertising the DEI travel grant to AGU this year. So if you are an AGU member and you take part in DEI activities, please apply to that grant. It offers up to $1,500 per traveler. And then secondarily, for the Early Career Committee, we're working on building a bigger community for us across the globe because people come from all over the place. So if you are an early career researcher and you would like to be featured on any of our social media sites, we use Blue Sky, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Please fill out our future scientist submission forms. We'll highlight you in your research and hopefully be able to push you out a little bit more into the field, or maybe have you interacting with people you have yet to interact with. And then if you have an article that you've put out recently, and when I say recently, it could be within the past 2 years, that's recent enough. Please fill out our featured article submission form because again, we'd love to promote your work and get your research out there because we're here again to build community. So I'd like to thank our audience for participating in today, and I would like to thank our 3 speakers, Jian, Panchami, and Swati, for presenting. You all did a wonderful job. Thank you so much, and have a great day, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. It's so
Yeah,
nice
thank you.
to present here. Thank you.